All right. Hey everybody, how is everyone doing this awesome Sunday? Just before a new moon, ending things for the current lunar month and getting ready for these new beginnings just around the corner. So great to see everyone here. Amanda, thanks for letting me know about the weekly. I did just publish it, thanks to you. Sometimes I forget to click the public button. If that ever does happen, if you feel like the weekly should be out and it's not up there, it probably means I didn't click the public button, which means it's still available if you do go to the website. In fact, I do recommend everyone go to the website for the weekly forecasts, masteringthezodiac.com. Margaret, if you could put a link to the to that page, the horoscope page, it's masteringthezodiac.com. I think it's /sidereal horoscope. But anyways, it's there on the website. Margaret will go ahead and post it down below. But thanks so much, Amanda, for saying that. It is now public and available to view. But I hope you're well, and thanks for joining as always. Karen, great to see you. Yeah, okay. Everyone give a big shout out to Margaret for moderating. Great moderator, always extremely helpful. Thank you, Margaret. So we'll probably go through the weekly energy. I'm going through the chat now just to make sure that I've greeted everyone, welcomed everyone, and see if anyone has any questions. Let me know how the audio is, making sure that the music isn't too loud compared to my voice. Sometimes it can get a little bit too loud with the music there. But yeah, the weekly I should be, I do normally make those public every Sunday. It's just this week, and sometimes I forget to make it public. Hans, great to see you. Zodiacal greetings from rainy Copenhagen. Thanks so much, Hans. Rain is always good for the relaxation. I mean, it depends. If there's too much rain, obviously. But I could use a little bit of rain right now, to tell you the truth. Erica Alexandria, always a pleasure. Afternoon, cosmic friends, says Erica. Hope everyone is well. Having weird dreams lately. They always occur prior to a new moon. Why is this? Well, we're in the ending of the cycle, right? And that's an extremely good observation. I would say the same. If you think about the zodiac, we go from Aries to Pisces, right? And Pisces is the last of the zodiac, the last of the life cycle. And Pisces, as many of you know, is about dreams. It's about really coming full circle back around to the ending. It's the womb before we emerge out the other side. So it rules dreams, spirituality, our unconscious minds. And so when you overlay the signs over the, in this case, lunar cycle, anytime you're at the end of anything, in this case, at the end of the lunar cycle, we're in Pisces territory. We're in Pisces energy. And that's why and that's regardless of where the moon actually is. Obviously, the moon is in a different constellation, but in any lunar cycle at the end, it is the Piscean type of energy. It's the time of completion. That's why I always say it's a time of completion. It's a time of doing a reset. It's a time of clearing. It's a spiritual time. It's a time of creating space. This is all because it's the ending of the cycle. And we see this with tropical astrology, right? Because what tropical's done is they've basically overlaid the zodiac on the seasons, right? So in tropical, their system doesn't reference the sky, but it does take the zodiac and overlays it on the seasons. And that's why, according to their system, as you approach the spring equinox, as you approach the beginning of spring, for them it's Pisces, right? So that's why their system always starts with Aries right on the spring equinox, regardless of what the sky says, because they're using the life cycle where Aries is the beginning and Pisces is the end. And it does still work, and it's still accurate, being that, of course, the seasons are a cycle. And in every cycle, the ending is Pisces energy. And in this case, absolutely, the lunar cycle is very much like Pisces. We could say that even though the moon is technically in Aries right now, so there's themes around proactivity, there's themes around initiative, there's themes around independence. This is all Aries, where the moon is. But because it's the ending of the cycle, it is Pisces themed. It is heightened intuition, heightened spiritual, heightened dreams, all this kind of stuff. Thank you so much for that question, but really declaration there that is really how we do experience, all of us. Now, whether it's dreams or not is obviously on a case-by-case basis, but the ending of every cycle is certainly Pisces territory, and that's especially for the lunar cycle. And you would think that, with tropical astrology, putting it over the seasons, you would think that they would do the same for the moon, right? Why does tropical astrology focus so much on the sun only, right? Because if you think about what tropical is, the seasonal system, it's all based around the sun, which is the seasons. But why aren't they doing the same thing for the lunar cycle? Why aren't they saying that the new moon starts in Aries lunar cycle? Because that's basically the equivalent of the sun-based, seasonal-based one, right? Because you have a sun-based, seasonal-based system. Then you can also have a lunar, monthly-based system. And the West has done the tropical for the sun, the season-based system, but it hasn't done it for the moon, right? The moon, if we were going to give a cycle to the lunar cycle, then every new moon would be Aries, right? The beginning of the cycle. And every ending would be Pisces. And that would actually be quite accurate too. The same as tropical is accurate because, again, it's part of that cycle. And every new moon is like also just getting things started, right? Like Aries, starting the proactivity, starting the initiative. Anyways, a lot we can talk about that. Jay Don, great to see you. Greetings, world, says Jay Don. Thank you so much. Yeah, just released the newsletter a little late today, guys. But I'm glad you guys are getting them. That's good. And yeah, make sure you do have notifications turned on. I should probably start saying this more often. Click the notification bell down below to be notified of when these videos go live, and also when we do upload the weekly forecast, for example. Ipa Phi, greetings from Finland. Thank you so much, Ipa. It was great to see you. Is it Ipa or Ipa? I've been saying Ipa. Please forgive me if that's not correct, but if you could correct me, please. Aya, great to see you. Greetings from South Africa. Thanks so much for joining, Aya. Great to see you. Sprout Queen, always a pleasure. Melting here in West Florida. Yeah, it's got to be starting to get pretty hot there. Well, I guess it's mostly not so much the heat as much as it's the humidity starting to come in with the summer. But sunny Florida definitely has its advantages. April Moore, howdy beautiful star friends. Great to see you, April. Marangaz, hi Athen and the others. Greetings from Belgium. For me, it is during the week not easy to follow everything, but I like the forecast and I'm learning something new. Yeah, it's I do my best to try to make the weekly forecasts as clear and straightforward as possible. The issue is that there's a lot to talk about, so it's always this fine balance between keeping it general and simple and holistic, which is really, I think, the ideal, if we can really make it holistic for the week. But then you kind of have day-by-day stuff, right? And you want to make sure that everything's covered. So it's tricky to, keep it simple while at the same time make sure everything's covered, especially on a daily level like that. So I do my very best to try to make it both practical, but also, simple. But thanks for that, Marangos, and I'm glad you're joining us here. We'll cover some of the weekly forecast here in just a couple minutes. Felicity, great to see you. Aloha. Audio is good. Thank you, Marangos. Sprout Queen, thank you very much. So Felicity says, Athen mainstream is speaking about Saturn moving into Aries. Yeah, that's different. That's very different, yes. Where do we stand with the visible sky? Is this accurate? Well, not accurate to the sky, right? Anytime you're dealing with the sign changes with tropical, you're not dealing with the actual sky. So we've just had Saturn enter Pisces this year. I believe it was in February when Saturn started this transit, but Saturn is officially in Pisces now. And because Pisces is a larger constellation, we can expect Saturn to be here for a good solid 3 years, actually. But it's a new energy, okay? So we'll say that coming into this year, Saturn has started to enter Pisces. And this is very different from Aries, okay? So in mainstream, they're saying Saturn's in Aries because of the seasonal thing, right? But Saturn in Aries would be much more about putting a lot of action towards systems, structures, building things, putting a lot of that fire towards career, achievement, accomplishment, basically, and even collective stuff, societal stuff. And we can definitely still see that. And again, as I've said many times, I still find tropical to still be accurate. But if we do look at it from the visible sky, we would say that this is representing more of what's going on under the surface. So while perhaps on the surface, with the seasonal, the more physical system, tropical, we have Saturn in Aries, which is suggesting more of that active energy towards accomplishments and achievements. What the sky is saying is that underneath all that, it's actually about aligning our soul to our achievements and accomplishments. And this can feel like a much more uncertain energy, not knowing exactly where to put energy, things that need to be more soul aligned with our careers and our achievements, feeling perhaps a bit of a dissolveness or dissipating sort of energy with some of the systems and structures. And the purpose of that, though, with Saturn and Pisces is to help us, again, make sure that what we're building, what we're achieving, what we're accomplishing, what we're doing with our careers is more soul fulfilling. And so over these few years, it's going to be a great opportunity to make sure that we are, building a life and building systems and building a career that is more soul aligned. And this includes, of course, more mental health and spiritual health for our careers, okay? Doing things because, again, not only is it soul fulfilling, but it is perhaps peaceful. It is more, maybe even spiritually connected. It is better for our health, things like this. So that's the true sidereal, Saturn and Pisces. Very important actually. Collectively, we can see this too as a lot of the disillusionment, uncertainty about where things are going societally with systems and structures and things like this. It also can mean like maritime stuff, the oceans, the seas, all this gets a lot of Saturn energy, a lot of building and accomplishment and achievement. We're seeing a lot of this with a lot of the trade stuff we're seeing. So anyways, we can look at it collectively, we can look at it personally, but very different, right? Systems and structures, Saturn in fiery, direct, proactive Aries and tropical, in the mainstream, on the surface level of things. And in true sidereal, in the visible sky, Saturn in Pisces, the builder, the achiever, the accomplisher. Saturn in the waters, in the ethers, in the soul-guided realms, right? So let me know how you all are feeling that. Are you feeling the Saturn in Aries and the Saturn in Pisces? Are you mostly feeling the Saturn in Pisces only? Or neither? Or how are you feeling when it comes to your systems and structures and things you want to achieve and accomplish? Is it more idealistic like Pisces, or is it more clear and proactive like Aries? It's probably a little bit of both, since of course we're still dealing with the physical seasons in the physical world. But very curious to see how you all are experiencing that. Amanda says, thanks, Athen. Wondering if we could consider Saturn and Neptune conjunct currently, since they're only a couple of degrees apart. Yeah, absolutely. And so this is another very important collective thing. It deals very much with what we just talked about. So you can see it here. This is what we're talking about, by the way. This is Saturn. This is Pisces. So if you look up at the sky, use a planetarium software like this, you will see Saturn and Pisces. Saturn's right at the beginning of Pisces like this. And Neptune's also here. So Neptune is the same energy as Pisces, basically. It's the planet of Pisces. And so it deals with many of the same things, the oceans, the spiritual, the inner, the soul. And so Saturn getting very close to Neptune. They're going to conjoin February, March of next year. But like Manda just pointed out, Saturn's getting very close. And Saturn's going to go retrograde here in the summer. So that means Saturn's going to get very close to Neptune, but then go retrograde and separate, and then early next year actually officially pass over Neptune. So it's within, in the summer, it's going to be within 1 degree. And so it is important. And it's basically like a prelude. It's basically a sneak peek into what early next year is all about. So let me go ahead and I'm going to pull up the transit graph so we can get more clear on dates here. Because it is a very important collective energy. Conjunctions are very important. And it's collective. It's Saturn and Neptune. So this is, really a global thing, obviously affecting everyone, personally and collectively. So here we are here. For those that can see it, I don't think I can zoom in much here. But anyways, this is Saturn conjunct Neptune. It goes exact February 20th. Okay, so February 20th of next year, Saturn and Neptune will conjoin. Again, that water and structure melding. Okay, building of the soul stuff, and also the dissolving of the physical, of the structure stuff. So this is earth and water combining. The earth is building the water stuff, spiritual, and the water is dissolving the earth stuff, the physical. Okay, but again, for soul fulfillment and all this. So that goes exact late February of next year. As you can see here, June 9th, so just right around the corner, we get within 1 degree. And it will be within 1 degree until the end of August. And halfway in between there is the retrograde of Saturn. Like I said, Saturn will get very close and then go retrograde. Okay, so this whole period, June, July, and August, is a sneak peek into what February, March of next year is like. On a personal level, I feel like, and I've been reading this a lot in my readings, is it's going to be really a building of a lot of our ideals and dreams. Now, this is all happening in different areas, and of course, that's why your personal chart's the most important thing. Saturn conjunct Neptune might be happening in your relationship sector. It might be happening in your career sector. It might be happening in your home sector, what have you. But whatever it is, for all of us, whatever area that you feel like you've been idealistic about, you felt open-minded about, you felt like you maybe are uncertain about it at the same time, so you're kind of being guided to go in a certain area. And by the way, if you do want to see exactly where this is happening for you, you can go to the chart calculator. Margaret, if you could post the chart calculator link and see where the beginning of Pisces is in your chart. So again, Pisces is going to look like this sign here. And as we said here as well, this is Pisces. So it's kind of this very dark purple color. So look for the beginning of this very dark purple Pisces color with this symbol. And that's the location, that's the area. Okay, and you can see what house that is, and that house will tell you whether it's relationships, career, whatever. But again, collectively, any area you felt idealistic, open-minded, but at the same time uncertain, this is getting built. It's becoming a reality. Now, it's not that our wildest dreams are coming true, but the areas that we felt hopeful about but also uncertain about are getting built. And early next year is a beautiful step in the right direction with that. And this summer, basically around July, we get a sneak peek as to what that is. A prelude, if you will. Okay, so very important, Saturn conjunct Neptune. So 30-something year cycle. So it's very, very, very important when we do have that conjunction. And conjunctions are the beginning of that cycle. Nova, great to see you. Look up. Good morning, everyone. Felicity, thank you, Athen, for that explanation of Saturn on Pisces, soul-fulfilling, soul-aligned careers. Yeah, you could think of it as the careers, the achievements, anything anything you want to accomplish and achieve in life. Being soul-guided right now. Maybe not sure exactly where it's headed, but following your intuition, following the dreams and ideals, even though it's not going to be the dream or ideal. It's kind of the ego projecting that, but it is an indication, right? The soul, the dreams, pay attention to your dreams in the sense of achievement and accomplishment. So Miranda says, I don't see how tropical can be accurate to the physical or to anything. The physical sky is only the true reflection. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is where everything actually is. The reason I do find tropical to still be accurate, though, is just like we were doing with the lunar cycle, where we were talking about how the ending of the cycle is very Piscean, dreams, and like where we're at right now at the ending of the lunar month, activating the more spiritual, intuitive, inner dream states. This is because we've overlaid the zodiac over the lunar cycle. So what tropical's done is they've overlaid the zodiac over the sun cycle, the seasonal cycle. And so therefore, you know, the astrology is basically just the cycle of life, and you can overlay the cycle of life over anything. You can overlay it over a day, for example. If you just generally said that when the sun rises wherever you are, you're going to consider that Aries, and you checked and you saw where all the planets were in relation to that, right? That would be accurate. That would be actually have its own accuracy too. But the tropical does tend to show more of the physical because it's the seasonal, right? So if you think of kind of what the Hindus or the Vedics were talking about, is that, you know, we're you know, the belief that we're in this sort of karmic wheel. We're in the wheel of karma. We're in this physical world. And if you look at the seasons, they're very, they repeat, and it's like endless, right? Because like you said, man, the truth is that we're actually spiraling through the universe, through the galaxy, and we're evolving, and the sun is not returning to the same place every year. But with the seasons, if you always say that, you know, when the sun and moon are in this configuration, as in spring, we're going to overlay that. That's very physical, right? That's physical. That's the physical representation. That's basically what I find tropical to be. But I totally agree with you that, you know, me personally, I just use true sidereal, as I find it really to be the essence and really the truth of what we're really experiencing. I am Yashra. Yashra. Thanks for joining. I prefer your MZ. I just like to make note in a book guide. All right. Well, thank you so much. I think you probably meant MTZ, maybe Master in the Zodiac, but thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Hands. Boating accidents, no, not necessarily. Maybe when Mars goes into Pisces, this, you know, with Saturn in Pisces, this might mean, but there has been the boating accidents, right? There's been a lot of this. So yeah, maybe, yeah. The limitations with the oceans, the limitations of the international stuff, you know, Saturn can really speak to that. But again, it's for the long-term building though, right? I thought you meant boating accidents at first, like, you know, like personally. That would be more Aries. I mean, more like Mars and Pisces kind of stuff usually. But collectively, yeah, more limitations with boating, yeah. Galactic frequencies. Oh, Danny, great to see you. Thank you so much. Yes, feeling the Saturn in Pisces. My moon is in Pisces in my 8th house. Yeah, so if you're already highly attuned to the Pisces energy, you'll definitely feel that. Saturn right now. You have planets in Pisces, your sun's at the beginning of Pisces, your moon's at the beginning of Pisces. Saturn is activating that. It's actually be a very Saturnian time for those of you who have strong Pisces in your chart. Time of achievement, accomplishment, also maturation, responsibility, achievement. Christine, thank you so much. Looks like we have some Saturn and Pisces confirmations. All right. So let's go ahead and just do a quick recap here of the weekly energy, and we'll go ahead and conclude. There were some really good questions today. Thank you so much, Amanda, for bringing your perspective. I really, really appreciate when those of you ask questions or bring some interesting things to light that apply to all of us collectively. It gives me some talking points. It keeps everyone else informed in terms of what others in the community are feeling or thinking or want to know about. So I really do appreciate that. But let's go ahead and wrap up here, just looking at the week again, since that weekly video just got uploaded. So basically we're starting a new moon. It's going to be late Monday, early Tuesday. It's very subtle. Okay, it's a very subtle new moon. It's in Taurus, which is much more grounding. Okay, so this is going to be a whole new lunar month around self-reliance, self-worth, self-value, building natural talents, natural abilities, natural gifts, basically building the inner resources and inner strength. Then, of course, from that externally, collectively a good time for building material security, the abundances of life in general, nature, more sensual energy, the physical, the sensual, Mother Earth, nature. Really good to set these intentions. But all in all, no major squares with the new moon. It's going to be quite close to Mercury, emphasizing learning and communication, which we might have a little bit of challenges with when we get to about, Thursday, because Mercury will be combust. That usually means that the thoughts and communications aren't very clear. The sun is over dominating the Mercury. But there's definitely insights and new perspectives. It's really what I would say, it's a week of new perspectives, a week of new insights, and of course a week of new beginnings. Do give it time, of course, as we've pointed out, still very Piscean right now in the sense that we're ending the current lunar cycle. And even after we build it, we're just slowly building momentum. So it will be a subtle week in that regard. But like I said, no super challenging energies. There's some inherent challenges with obviously a lot of what we're talking about, but nothing to add with squares and stuff. The new moon will be trining up to Pluto, so we definitely have empowerment, personal transformation available. Okay. So that's the week. And then, like I said, Thursday, the sun over Mercury over the sun. And then on Sunday, Venus will be conjunct Chiron. So Venus over Chiron on Sunday gives us a new chapter with healing, specifically with our connections. So this can be with relationships, but also just generally in our connection to life. So most likely it's because it's a Taurus time and Venus rules Taurus. You know, it's going to be, again, through the inner world that we're going to be cultivating these inner and outer resources. And so healing is likely a part of that. So I think on Sunday we'll probably be healing our self-worth, self-value, some of these inner resource things, and perhaps our relationship with the outer resources as well. And that's going to start a whole new chapter for the year with Venus over Chiron with that. All right, so we'll go ahead and start closing out here. Let me just go through and see if there's any last minute comments, questions. Yeah, this is Prometheus Astrology software. You can find that on the website. Developed by Gavin Burns. Very grateful to have this software. Oh, great to see Logan introduced you to the site. I am. Thanks so much for sharing that. Jupiter entering Gemini. Yeah, so in the last week's newsletter, we talked about Jupiter entering Gemini, made a whole article about it. There's also an article on the social media channels too. Facebook, we're on Instagram. Actually, Margaret, if you could post links to our Facebook, Instagram, and X, we are there, and we do post these kinds of things there too. But yeah, Jupiter entering Gemini, we made an article about it. It's on the social media channels you can check out. But generally, yeah, Jupiter entering Gemini, we're going to see some expansion here. When's it happening exactly? I forget. It's pretty soon. So Jupiter will get closer to Gemini on June 6th. So that's just really just a couple weeks here. But anyways, about a year of starting to expand some of the Gemini energy. So Gemini's learning, Gemini's communication. Collectively, Gemini is about trade, business. So personally, really good, you know, for all of us individually to be learning new things, being more open-minded, maybe even a little social and communicative as well. Anything involving peers, neighbors, siblings, a lot to learn about those relationships, a lot to learn just in general. Picking up a book, this is usually more practical study, so technical in nature, picking up that book, doing some technical studies, things like this. It's all about approaching learning and communication from a different lens, from a different angle, from a different perspective. So how can we challenge our already existing ideas and information and knowledge and communication skills and approach them completely differently and from a different perspective? Okay, it's gonna be a lot to learn. It's great. I mean, you know, Jupiter's not comfortable here because it's opposite Sagittarius. Gemini's opposite Sagittarius, and so Gemini is much more practical in nature. Okay, but from the Gemini side, the communication and learning side, it's always nice to have expansive Jupiter, at least to learn, you know, to get a new perspective on things, most certainly. But from the Jupiter side, it's going to mean that a lot of the more spiritual and abstract stuff in life is going to become much more practical in nature. So it's really an opportunity to ground the abstract with the practical. And I think that's really what this is, I think, best used for. The right brain and the left brain, possibilities, but also the reality, possibilities and what can be applied practically or technically in life, and merging these two together. Great time for this kind of new perspective. But yeah, everyone, if you haven't yet subscribed to our Facebook, Instagram, and X accounts, definitely do so for that extra content. And we'd love to have your support there and getting the community there as well. All right. So those links are down below. Thank you so much, Margaret, for sharing those. All right. Sorry if I didn't get to all the comments and questions, but thank you again so much for joining. And next week at the same time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern time of the Americas, we'll go through, of course, the weekly energy, and I look forward to a lot of your perspectives next week as well. All right, so have a great one. See you all next time. Take care.